Hey everybody, Banlist season is upon us once again somehow, so, you know what that means, just free content, so might as well hop on that bandwagon while it's, still going on. I'm gonna get right into that in just a second, but first, I just wanted to shout someone out real quick. Shoutouts to Aurora K, because that is where this field center came from, and, aside from it revealing me being a Rem fan, just look at that. That is gorgeous. She custom made this. She has a few of these. She does commissions as well. I'll leave a link to her stuff in the description. Go check her out because this is gorgeous. I'm really happy I was able to get this because I had a few other field centers, but this is just beautiful. So link to her stuff in the description. Definitely go check her out and support their work because this is just beautiful. Anyway, let's just get right into the other content. Not going to spend too much time on a bunch of these. I'm just going to give my general thoughts on each. You've probably seen, every other prominent YouTuber giving their opinions on other stuff. Go check out their stuff because a lot of mine is going to be some of the same opinions. Some of it you've already heard already. And then otherwise, I'm just not really going to spend too much time on it because most of it is either self-evident or just my own personal bias. Anyway, getting right into it, I just made a video on this, but starting with the band section, Dragoon. I think Dragoon needs to get hit. It's not doing anything prominently in the format except for a couple builds of Drytron, but even then, a lot of Drytron players are dropping it because you got to play 3 bricks to do it, and you can't really justify that a lot of the times in a meta deck. Even then, even though it's not doing much in the meta, Dragoon just does way too much for one card. It's incredibly oppressive. It's essentially the rogue deck killer. If you can't answer Dragoon, which a lot of rogue decks can't, then you're just not going to have a good time. And, just because a card isn't in the meta doesn't mean it shouldn't be hit. Dragoon's not making any big waves in the meta, but it's just too oppressive for one card. I just made a video on this, so I'm not going to elaborate further, but I think Dragoon is the problem card, not Anaconda or Red Eyes Fusion, and Dragoon is the one that should get hit. Next up on the bans, I didn't have this in last time because I didn't realize how oppressive this is, but I'm putting it in this time. I think Imperial Order needs to go. This card is just stupid. And this card is, unlike Dragoon, is making big splashes in the meta in the form of Tri-Brigade, because Tri-Brigade does not care about this card whatsoever once they get set up, or even if they're set up, they can forego the spell cards in general. And of course, if you played against a Tri-Brigade player, they draw this damn card every single time. I'm looking at you, Matt. What more is there to say? I mean, this card just shuts down most decks in general because most decks rely on spells for either consistency or to bring stuff out. For example, I just started using Despia as my main deck, the new deck that just came out. That deck does not function without spell cards. I need to fuse with the field spell. I need Branded Opening to get to my stuff. The entire gimmick of the deck is revolved around fusing. The one play I could make is maybe with Fallen of Albaz, but I need the spell card. And I'm sure you could name every single other deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! that needs their spell cards and can't function without them. This card is just too oppressive. I don't care if it's only a 1. I don't care if it's errata to where it has to stay on the field and hurts the opponent too. It's just stupid. It needs to go. And then finally, for the last ban that I have, I've been saying this every single ban list, and I do not know why this card is not only still legal, but at 3, I am sick and tired of Mystic Mine. It's not doing anything prominently in the meta for most decks, but there is one deck that we need to talk about that is using it, and that is Prank Kids. Prank Kids abuses this damn card. It's their win condition most of the time. What happens when a Prank Kids player drops Mystic Mine, and then you just aren't able to see an out, or they're able to protect it? What are you gonna do? You hope you deck them out. Good luck doing that with the what's the continuous spell called? Prank Kids Pranks, I think. It lets them shuffle cards back into the deck. I mean, this card is just stupid. It's free resource allocation for them, and it's just a degenerate card in general. The card does not promote interactivity whatsoever, and it's just not fun for anybody. It's not interactive, and it's just not. I don't even know why this card was printed. This card is stupid. This card should have been gone a format after it was printed, and I just think it's time for this card to go. I mean, name anybody that likes playing against Mystic Mine. One that I have, I guess, sort of transitioning between ban or limit. I do think this card needs to be addressed. I want to talk about Eva. At least something needs to happen with this card, because this card is basically Black Dragon for Drytron. This card is stupid. Hitting Herald of Ultimateness, sure, but I mean, they can still use Herald of Perfection. Herald of Perfection isn't nearly as strong as Ultimateness, so I mean, sure, that's fair. But the problem is Eva, because you get so many resources to your hand with Eva. I mean, you hit Herald of Ultimateness, but they're still able to double Eva using Beatrice, and then they have 4 fairies in their hand, so you still got to deal with whatever other board they put up, as well as 2 orange lights. It's stupid. This card is literally, I mean, it's been said 100 times before, this card is Block Dragon for it, and it just enables way too much for them. Whether or not to ban it, you may have to, because resolving 1 Eva is still stupid enough. I mean, that already gets them 2 resources to hand when you do that, and it's, you know, just free resources. It's really easy to do in the deck, and it just makes it really oppressive. I don't know if hitting anything else in the deck would really do anything. I'm sure ban the Herald, but I mean, they still have Perfection. You would have to ban both of them, and I don't see that. So I think Eva is the play. Limit it or ban it, I could see either. I would think you have to ban it if you do that, but it's not up to me. While we are still talking about the ban section, I just want to talk about cards that are currently banned that people want to see back, and that I just personally do not see coming back. Fans of Colossus, you saw this in my last video. I used to be of the opinion that Colossus could maybe come back to 1, but all the arguments for Colossus coming back basically amount to, oh yeah, just have the out, man. Yes, there are more ways to deal with Colossus than there were when it was legal, but that doesn't justify it coming back. The thing is literally a walking mistake with built-in protection. It is incredibly hard to deal with, and it's just a stupid card. Any deck would be able to splash in a Thunder Engine and be able to run this card. It would literally just be the next Dragoon. And we're already getting the next Dragoon in the form of Phoenix Enforcer, so we don't need Colossus back. Another one, I used to be of the opinion that this card can maybe come back, but I always hated thinking about that because I don't want to deal with it. I'm sorry, Orcus players, I don't think Harp Horror can come back. This card would just enable way too much. Yes, Orcus isn't doing much, but that would just enable Orcus packages and other Orcus BS that I just personally do not want to deal with. Nothing more to say about that. There's a lot of personal bias in here. I just don't want to deal with Orcus BS, but I don't think Harp can come back. Another card that, sorry Pendulum players, Electromite cannot come back as Yu-Gi-Oh! Stands right now. It would just enable way too much. Yeah, it sucks because this is the card that does need to come back for Pendulum to be able to do anything, but I'm sorry, it would just enable too much. Electromite can't come back as it currently stands. And I have no idea why people think this card should come back, but I figured I'd just throw it in anyway because I do have my copy of this. Stop saying Masterpiece can come back. Masterpiece cannot come back. Just stop it. Just stop. Stop saying this card can come back. I don't want to deal with this. Masterpiece cannot come back to Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, on to the limits. I have a few of them lined up here. Some of these limits, some don't touch, some you can ban, maybe. I don't know. This is just my personal opinion. At the very least, I think that Zeus needs to be limited. The reason I say that is because it's the same problem as Dragoon. It's if your deck can't answer Dragoon the same way if your deck can't answer Zeus, then you're just not going to have a good time. This card is literally just a win more button for a lot of decks. Decks like Pure Zoo abuse this at 3. That's really the only deck that abuses more than 1 copy of Zeus. All the other decks are only running 1 copy of each just as a package, but this card is literally a win more button. I don't see them banning this card because of the tins. Now, to be fair, Cross-Out Designator is going to sell the tins by itself, but I mean, they still want to sell the tins, and I don't see them outright banning Zeus. But I think a limit is fair because dealing with the one Zeus and then moving on from there is more reasonable than having to deal with two Zeuses. And to be fair, meta decks are only really playing the one Zeus in general. But I mean, at least do something with it because more than one Zeus is just oppressive and not fun. Next, addressing prank kids. I really think besides the Mystic Mine hit that the only thing that you can do with prank is with the Link 1 with Meow Meow Mew. At the very least, I think you gotta limit it. And banning it, I mean, that would just outright kill the deck, which, I mean, sorry, Prank Kids players, I really don't care about the deck. I wouldn't care if that deck is never playable again because your deck is stupid. Play another deck. But putting this to 1, I think, is fair because you still get their plays off if they resolve. But then they're not able to just, do it all over again by drawing one Prank Kid on the next turn on the crackback and then just doing it all over again and setting up another degenerate board that you got to deal with more BS. So putting this to 1, go watch a bunch of the other YouTubers. They've been having discussions on this for a while now. I'm of the same opinion. Put this to 1. It stops all the degenerate stuff from happening on the next turn just because you draw another Prank Kid. Next, Tri-Brigade. I have 2 options lined up for this, which is already being widely discussed anyway, and I just share the same opinion. First would be Tinky. Put it to 1. That's fair. It gets them to fractal easier, which helps them start up their plays. I think a consistency hit to that deck is fair. That would really be the biggest one, I would think, other than one other card, which I do have up next, and that would be Revolt. Yes, Revolt just got a rarity upgrade, but this card at more than 1 is just ridiculous because this card is insane for Tri-Brigade. It's literally just a mountain of free resources, plus you summon Shureg and get a free non-target banish off of it. This card to 1 is a lot more fair because it makes the Bear Broom more vulnerable, and your Tri-Brigade opponent has to commit to that if they want to see this card, and then they're not just able to do it again next turn. Same thing with Prank Kids. They're not able to just set it up and do it again next turn. They have to kill you on the crackback if they resolve that, which sometimes they just can't do if you have the proper disruption, which most modern meta decks / hand traps are able to do for you. Plus, it really, really lessens the chance that they'll just hard draw 1. So if you stop the Bear Broom and then they just set a bunch of cards anyway, and one of them just so happens to be another copy of Revolt, it does stop that. Now, to be fair, they're Tri-Brigade players, and they always draw their stupid 1-ofs. Matt, I'm looking at you. Stop drawing Imperial Order 1-for-1, all the stupid BS. Tri-Brigade players draw it anyway, but I mean, putting this to 1, I mean, that'd be fair. It makes them a lot more vulnerable and doesn't allow for a lot more broken stuff. Next, other things that I just see people talk about to either ban or put to 1, which, I mean, putting these to 1 wouldn't really do anything, but for any type of Invoke Shadal package, Winda and Schism always come up. I'm only talking about these 2 because obviously I just transitioned to Despia, and Despia uses these cards in some regard because they play a Shadal package in some regard. These cards really aren't doing anything a lot in the meta. Now, again, that's not grounds to just ignore them because I just told you why I think Dragoon and Mystic Mine should be hit, despite the fact that they're not necessarily the problematic cards in the meta. But, I mean, these cards, I guess compared to those, are more fair. I mean, they still are really annoying to deal with. So if anything happened to these cards, if Schism got banned and Winda got limited, sure, I guess that's fair. I just put these cards up for discussion just because I know that these cards are not fun to play against. So if anything happens to them, then sure, that's fair, I guess. Up next, just my own personal bias of stuff that I think can come back to more than 1. I am also a Salad player, so I mean, we can get more copies of Gazelle and Circle. That's really the only other ones I have lined up, just because I don't really feel like opening up the can of worms to talk about every single deck that I think would need a boost. But those are just the two of the more popular ones that I think could come back to more than one copies. Salad doesn't build any broken boards. You can have multiple copies of Gazelle and Circle because the deck's been power crept to hell. You can have this deck be more consistent. And just the last card. I don't really think I have anything lined up for what can come back to 3 or other multiple copies. I just put this in as a reminder to myself to talk about that section. Red MD can come back to multiple copies. It's got its errata. It's a hard once per turn now. It would literally just be consistency in putting it in more than one copy. Most decks only run one copy anyway, but this copy can come back to more than one because it's a hard once per turn now. I only put that in just to remind myself that there are maybe cards that can come back to 3. Some that come to mind are, of course, Double Irish Magician and Skullcrabat Joker that got boosted on the last list. Those cards can be at 3, and it wouldn't change anything. Pendulum decks would do some more stuff with them, but they unfortunately cannot do more stuff without the Electromite, and I'm sorry, but Electromite needs to stay banned. That's about all I got lined up for you. Obviously, there's a lot I didn't talk about, but again, I just wanted to give my general thoughts on just a few of the cards. If there's anything else that you think needs to be banned, limited, semi-limited, unbanned, coming back to more than one copy, coming back to 3 copies, obviously feel free to comment that down below because I can't nearly touch on everything else that I would want to or that needs to be addressed. But that's about all I got for you with that. Again, go check out Aurora K. Links to her stuff in the description. Go check out some of this cool stuff because this is really, really cool, and she does a bunch of other cool stuff like this. Those links in the description. That's about all I got for you, and have a good rest of the day.